I look at getting leads two ways. It's either you really scale how your outreach is happening, or you got to scale your marketing so that your phone rings. You either got to make sure that your outbound, processes, calling, texting, emailing, cold outreach is done in a way that gives you the leads that you want, which a lot of people can say is really tiring and endless, but it is a very predictable way to go after business. Otherwise, you got to market yourself so the phone just keeps ringing.
If you're a real estate agent earning $200,000 a year and you want to grow your passive income, this show is for you. Learn secrets other agents use and hear from experts in our field who will guide you on your journey to investing in assets like apartment communities so you can take your commissions and turn them into cash flow. Here's your host, Randal. Let's dive in.
All right, guys, welcome back. I have an awesome guest on today, Jordan March. If you don't know who he is, just Google him. He's a beast, and he's been doing real estate for a while now. He's run massive teams, and he's now with Ryan SERHANT in the New York market. He's expanding to the Miami market. I mean, we talk about a bunch of things. He's star of Owning Manhattan, a Netflix series. Sorry. And just a great guy to chat with, very down to earth, happy to share information and tactics and things that he's working on. He has been on a lot of shows and a lot of podcasts. So we discuss some tactics, and then we talk about deals that he's working on, mainly because there's other tactics that you can find by searching him. But again, just a great chat, great conversation, what he's working on. He tells us about a new technology that they are launching soon. Hasn't talked about it before. It's about to come out, and probably by the time this airs, it'll be out. So stay tuned to the end because we talk about it then. And if you're getting anything out of the show, please go on, rate and review. Helps us bring on these amazing guests that we've been talking to, and they share their knowledge so that you can grow your business. And invest your commissions and turn them into cash flow. So keep telling us what you want to hear, and we will keep bringing you great shows just like this one. All right, let's jump in with a conversation with Jordan. Here we go. All right, Jordan, welcome to the show, man. It's awesome to have you on. You've been a busy guy. I know you've got a lot of things going on, so I appreciate you taking the time to jump on with us today.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Happy to be here.
Hey, all right, man. So I know you've got the Netflix show on right now, and just in general, we talk about marketing a lot as agents and brokers and that sort of thing. I'm just curious, like, how has that changed your business and your exposure in winning business before and after you actually had that show and had the series?
Yeah, I mean, Owning Manhattan has just been like life-changing. I mean, I have exposure really from like all corners of the globe right now. I'm talking to investors, homeowners, people are thinking about jumping into the US market. People are hunting me down, like genuinely. Yeah. So like that's just been so awesome to be a part of, and ultimately like have it actually fuel my business, So I like to say, when I would knock 7 times on the door to get a deal, now I'm knocking once.
Yeah.
And it just, uplifts and is a catalyst for everything that we've already been doing in the pipeline here too. So it's been great, and just to, create conversations. I think it's done well for everybody in the brokerage, for those who are not even on the show.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
It's just
and that's part of the thing. So again, I talk to a lot of agents from around the country. We talk about tactics and marketing and things they're doing to grow their business. And then you have a juggernaut that is a TV show that is, worldwide, that, like you said, it's now opened up your business to everybody. So for those who don't have a TV show, like, what are some things you guys are doing in your brokerage that, boots on the ground sort of tactics that you guys are using that is helping grow the business? And I want to take this down a road of, like, how are you guys growing the business? And I know you have a lot of experience running and managing big teams. And so I want to talk about that as well. But just, some of the things that people can use, other agents and brokers can use to grow their active income right now.
I think really it's about building out a community. Like we I think are looking at all the social media platforms very much in silo. And, I think for one to really have the long-term vision of like, how do I really make this a real consistent income, and how do I build rather than just transact deal by deal? And what I tell people, it's like you got to build your community, right? Like who are the advocates in your circle? Who are the buyers and sellers, of course, in your sphere? Who are the investors? Who are the people who are always buying real estate, and what type of real estate are they buying? But how are you now really controlling that conversation, adding value, putting in deals, right? Adding really, on the pulse insights. I mean, this is what people want. And then I go a step further, right? Like people also want to know like what's the local hotspots, right? Is there a trending steakhouse or bagel spot in town, right? Like what adds value is, of course, it's location, which means it's about, not just the demographics of an area, but what does the area have to offer? Schools, restaurants, fitness, you name it, right? Like nightlife. These are all things that people want to know about because this is what ultimately will add value to their home and sort of the migration numbers of any hot town. So that's the stuff that we need to keep people abreast of.
Yeah. So are you going out? Is your main I guess outside of the show are you using one platform and that's the one that's driving a lot of business and you're seeing that TikTok shorts are just crushing it, or is there something else, or is it just across all platforms? You just want to stay relevant and you want to stay out in front of people?
Yeah, I mean, I've had success on all platforms. I have some people who swear by TikTok. We have others who swear by YouTube. I think it's really knowing who your audience is. TikTok has typically been associated with the younger demographic, but that's not always true. So anything that, that a lot of these articles or so on may sort of crystallize as far as where their niches are, it's not necessarily limited to that because I've gotten clients from other means on other platforms that weren't in my direct purview of this is the target audience from this platform. So, but YouTube, I get a lot of the boomers and people who are open to long form content, people who are watching those long conversations and adding value. They use it like a Google. LinkedIn is huge. It's like the forgotten social network that you can actually talk about business. You can actually talk about deals. You can have those cheesy conversations that you typically hate having if you're on Instagram or if you're even in person at times about the business. So I really do love in LinkedIn, and that what I recommend is, you have Hootsuite, you have a lot of platforms where you can just post in a couple clicks to all your platforms. Otherwise, iPhone, you can get a little organized and have all your platforms in one folder. And then from there, you're posting to all the platforms with the same content. And you may find that something goes viral on one and it doesn't get plays on another, right? So it's hard to predict exactly virality sometimes. Of course, there's the laws of virality, making really great, engaging content. But until then, you do have all the platforms which have their own internal algorithms and, will push your content to be discovered by new people.
Yeah.
And then I love email. I mean, email's a huge platform for me to have long form conversations as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I was watching an interview you gave and you were talking about having dialers and that sort of thing. So are you still hitting it hard with, a 10 line dialer on a daily, or has your role shifted a bit?
Yeah. And I mean, I delegate, that as well. But I mean, I look at, getting leads two ways. It's either you really scale how your outreach is happening, or you got to scale your marketing so that your phone rings. Right. And I simplify it a lot when I talk to, whether it's agents now. I'm a part of Sell It, Ryan Serhant's coaching platform, which he has now opened up to all industries, solopreneurs. And whether you're a contractor on Main Street, whether you're a chiropractor on Main Street, right? Like there are certain fundamentals to marketing and positioning your brand so that people are attributing you to the highest level of service and value. And how do you convey those messages so that they are digested and received well? So that's something that we're looking at. And it's really, look, you either got to make sure that your outbound, processes, calling, texting, emailing, cold outreach, is done in a way that gives you the leads that you want, which a lot of people can say is really tiring and endless, but it is a very predictable way to go after business. Otherwise, you got to market yourself so the phone just keeps ringing. And that's through, again, still call, text, email, but now we take it a step forward with advertisements on social, search, Google, Yahoo, Bing, right? They have ad networks across verticals that you can be showing your advertisements on, but then people have TV, they got magazine, you still have your local billboards. And what I like to say is like, you have to think about things in a holistic manner, right? Like it isn't one trick or isn't one tool that you have on your tool belt anymore. Now you have an entire tool shed. And so that this means that you can get very, very tactical on what you're using to drive that influence or that traffic or whatever you're looking to do, but they're all used in different parts of your funnel. So the things that I may do to get someone to discover me is not the same things I would do to say push a client who is somewhat interested in my service into, deeper down the consumer funnel or the consumer journey where they're actually making decisions and transacting and they become like an acquisition, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your timeline, I guess, now on your funnel? What's your sales cycle? It's like somebody comes into your world. I guess
Yeah.
even before that, when you have people interacting with you in social, whatever platform it is, do you have a team of people that are helping you out respond to that? Do you have autoresponders? Is it you responding? Because that can be overwhelming, I would think, with the number of inbounds that you would have or likes or, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
how do you handle that in your world?
I mean, I keep it pretty personal still. Like I look at all my messages. Obviously, I filter out, certain opportunities that seem most fitting. But then they have like many chat. So there are some autoresponders that are out there. If people look into it, very easy to set up that you can automate right into your Facebook or Instagram that'll at least take them through those first qualifying questions. Because the big thing is online is that there's a lot of people who also fill out your forms and your lead magnets that aren't necessarily qualified. So you want to be able to sort of weed out who's actually really worth my highest and best use of my time. And how do we make sure, again, we're just efficient at responding to those who are really looking for the best answers in the fastest amount of time. So I keep it very organic, though. I look at things just like any other email. If I got to go through 100 texts or, emails, I will, because I just want to make sure that like they're getting the person that they see and hear. But I definitely believe in like those who want to scale like their advertising outreach and have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of messages coming in that you can look into like a mini chat or any of those, auto chats, just to at least take them to the first qualifying steps. And for me, I mean, it really depends on the client that I'm going after, but I automate emails a year in advance. So I have follow-ups already in my email. I have, quarterly reports that drop out. I have other things that, that they're going to get on a drip campaign. So I think, again, you have to think about it multi-tiered, but when I sort of look at a new prospect, I think there's about 60 days that, you really want to hook them. So I find the cadence and the frequency of my messages are a lot more often than say like a once in a month follow-up email. Whereas like in the first 60 days, they may hear from me, one time every week for the next 8 weeks. I may get them 8 times over 8 weeks or even a little bit more in those first, couple weeks. And then it'll teeter off little by little where then, maybe if again, they don't respond, they're just getting a remarketing email months in, but at least we stay top of mind. And, the sales cycle with home buying is long, right? People are having to make personal decisions, wait for bonuses, wait to sell something. So there's a lot of little things that we don't necessarily know out the gate. And that's why it's so important to stay on top of people because, again, like they won't necessarily tell you their decision-making process, but that a home buying or selling cycle, selling process is a long cycle. And we want to make sure that we're just in front of them to anticipate in a very predictable way on like what is actually going to work for, what people's lifestyles and how this decision actually works. So people, may look online, shop around, call brokers, save some bookmarks on a tab, wait till the family's over, review stuff with them, then circle back around. And you won't necessarily know until they've gone through that entire process. So it's very important for me as a broker just to say, in there and make sure I'm tapping them while they're in my pipeline too.
Yeah. Yeah. Basic stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, as long as you have that set up, that's fantastic. Well, we jumped in, hit you with some tactics. First thing, I'm like, again, let's get into it. But I was listening to you talk about you coming up and the different roles that you played and teams that you ran and how you and Ryan got to where you guys are now and the team
Yeah.
that you're building with Empire Collective and that sort of thing. So, um, you know, if you can go back now and you're looking at some of the roles that you played and the teams that you built, are you trying to grow your team now? Like, are you actively out just like let's scale this thing and make it as big as possible? Or are you using I just interviewed Bob Knackle. He's in New York too. I don't know if you know him, but yeah, he's a big
Yeah.
name
Shout out to
JLO.
Bob,
Just
yeah.
yeah, okay. So we were just talking and he's like, look, I had this massive team and then we sold and then I worked for these guys and I had this, but now with technology, I can have, 10 to 20 people doing the work of 100 people. And so it's the same question, are you guys looking to scale or do you have tech that you have implemented and you're using so your small tactical team can go out and execute and prosecute deals just like you were a 100-person team? So I'm just kind of curious where you guys are heading,
No.
what you're working on.
No, I mean, we're definitely scaling. It is very organic. We don't want to water down the brand of the team or the company, so we're very sensitive to first the culture and the ethics of the person. And then other than that, yeah, I mean, we do have tech, but the goal is to have it really provide support for that supplemental kind of push on anybody's book. So I find that like it's a lot easier to take someone from say level 3 to level 10 than level 1 to level 3 at times,
Yep.
right? So I like to work with experienced agents. I like to work with people who have a book of business that the technology will then really, really, put their business on steroids, so to speak. And so we're very smart about the hires that we make. A lot of them are operators of their own teams. We don't just take on new agents like just because like we're not necessarily like real estate school either, and like I don't necessarily have the same, sort of time and resources to just sit there and train all day as I used to when I was building, the team on behalf of a company, where that's like really my role is like right now, the core of my role is still to transact and to make sure that I'm, adding value to my clients and making sure that they're also in front of like the most competent, capable agents. And I think when I look at it as a way to scale, it is those who need our technology, need our resources, or we're also working with agents where we're all able to offer a certain amount of leads, but I sort of unlock a slot of who I'm hiring based on the proportion amount of leads I can offer them. So that's what sort of like gives me a nice gauge so that we're not growing too fast. We're like too bottom heavy and then we're not really making people happy. We want to make sure if there's like a brand new agent that needs support, we provide a certain amount of opportunities while they're getting their business off the ground. But typically with the more experienced agents, they already have a lot of business. They're just looking for me to come in, give them some new sort of operational workflows, give them a way to think about the business, update their marketing, update their systems. And then from
All right.
there, they're able to like really increase what they're doing.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was curious again, just seeing that and how you guys were working towards that, and if you see your role evolving to just more of the rainmaker, and then you have your team who's helping you, prosecute those transactions so that you can continue to like grow the brand and increase lead flow just by the activities that you're doing. Is
Yeah.
that
Well,
is
I
that
can
how?
move it to every market. Like I'm in Miami now. I'm in
Okay.
the Florida market, not just limited to Miami, right up north of the beach, whether it's Delray, Palm Beach. So we're breaking into other markets. We're in the Hamptons as well. So we are able to scale, I think, very efficiently because of the technology. Now we have Zoom, or, years ago we didn't have these things to like make sure we have the connectivity of having a virtual meeting, right? People were dialing into conference lines years ago, right? So like these updates have really helped us with our communication channels. It's helped us in finding more efficiency on how we can really execute with agility in certain markets and break into markets faster. And then, of course, with our narrative and our positioning and our branding, we're able to find the best-in-class agents to work alongside with us who really want our resources. So
Yeah.
I think we have an ability to just break into markets very quickly and have a strong impact because of, like, again, those sort of predictive factors that we really look at when launching.
Yeah. So are you guys looking, you're going to continue expanding nationwide? You think
Yeah, I
that?
mean, Ryan's doing it very organically.
Mhm.
My team will break into certain select markets that I find are just really hip for us. I mean, like, we love Florida. Who doesn't love a little Miami life? So, and I'm launching 3 new development properties there in Brickell. Talking to a lot of investors, talking to a lot of developers in the market, and it's just a booming market. So we want to be there and help elevate whatever anybody's doing.
Perfect. That's the next direction. So that's a perfect segue into what you're working on as far as, asset types, asset classes. Is the brokerage side of the business mainly focused residential? Do you guys do a couple different asset classes? What are you guys working on?
Yeah, I mean, we work on commercial as well. We have a small commercial team within the team.
Mhm.
We primarily are working luxury, luxury resale or, just like luxury property,
Yeah.
single family. But we've done quite a few hot multifamilies. And then, on my own projects, working on some ground up new construction.
Okay. So let's talk about those because that's fascinating and always fun to talk about.
Yeah.
All right. So what is ground up? Is it multifamily or it sounded, I don't know how I got that, but it sounded like you're talking multifamily.
Yeah.
What
Multifamily,
are you working on?
multifamily condo. What I will say, I mean, certain projects NDA'd, but pretty much what we have is, a mix of multifamily and condo hotel,
Yeah.
which is a very hybrid in Florida, and ownership structures where some just want to park their money and have, some consistent cash flow and, do get those secondary home tax benefits. And then, for me is I'm always like looking at, some small properties that I can take on that will just generate me cash flow and, give me, some healthy appreciation. But I've gotten really into like the multifamily, hot curb appeal, like sexy project space, right?
Nice.
Like stuff that has, just like the wow factor to it. I think it's always what I wanted to develop when I thought about developing and working with a variety of, developers, depending on, again, the location I'm working with is, again, different team in Miami versus, Palm Beach. But, helping them, find capital. My main, I think, asset in the team is securing capital on behalf of developers. So I like to put it together a deal, frame it out, find if there's a, marquee developer or architect that we'll be working with and development team, and then we back into it. Once we get our cap stacks right and our compliance in order, we're on the way, raising capital and looking for people who want to break into these markets and see some really healthy returns.
Yeah.
So we have a very global audience in that regard.
I would think so. And with the reach, with everything you've got going on, it seems like a fantastic way of going about it. Are you guys like, we don't have to talk specific address or details or anything like that, but on this show, I love talking to
Of
operators
course.
who are going and telling me, okay, this is what we're looking at. This is the type of return profile that we're targeting. This is what, like, get into the nitty gritty just because it is talking shop and I'm a nerd about it. So, so you're developing, let's just take one. Is it 20 units or are we talking like 300 units or, is it condo? You said condo regime. So are you selling off the individual units? And again, are these large scale or are they smaller boutique style? What are we
Yeah, they're
talking?
like mid-sized boutique, like around 150 to 300 units,
Okay.
which, like is still, for certain towers, not huge. We like to make sure that we're not selling the individual condos. We help investors become essentially, limited partners of this development, right?
Yeah.
So I've done this in a syndication capacity and in like a fund of funds capacity where we look at, other projects that our fund will invest in another fund and
Yep.
then, look at a portion of that. And I mean, investors, get between anywhere, 15 to 20% annual return, which is amazing. At least from, the type of scale project, we're looking at about, depending on the project again, about 2 to 5 years of risk, just until we're like fully broken ground, toppling off the building, getting through all those, those KPIs, so to speak. And then giving people like a real path of like playing in these markets. So I go to investors and say, listen, we help investors break into the New York market or the Florida market, and we offer, these percentage returns. And then we just kind of get a sense of like what their capacity and their like, their stamina for risk is, right? We like to work with people who've been native to the space or have done something similar, but we do have a lot of like first time, accredited investors. Maybe they've done some fix and flips, they just want some healthy returns, and a really strong exit, whether we're looking at, 5, 10 years, or again, once the sponsor is done selling all the individual condos, which is again the sellout for these type of projects, it is going back to the market with the building. The sponsor may have a couple units that they rent out, but otherwise we're putting them on the market with a broker and, hoping for a profitable sellout.
And for you and your team, that's a phenomenal. So I assume if they're selling those units, you have an in to list those units.
Oh, of course, that's the whole
That's
point. Hey,
fantastic. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a great flow, deal flow for the investor, then you guys, listing on the back end, selling those things off. So price point for these condos, typically, what are we talking about? Are we in the million,
yeah,
2 million,
like
or?
not even. I mean, in Miami, I mean, we have stuff as low as 500K.
Okay.
We have 2 bedrooms at $1 million, or like right over $1 million. So some really nice price points and the
Yeah.
basis to start off at. And then, I mean, if you look at the Airbnb economy, I mean, we like to really sort of show people with, a few of our projects that we're working on. So there's 3 projects that I have going up in Miami, which is called the Millix, Parkside, and Season 1.
Yeah.
They all are different demographic and audience, but I mean, like, we also operate the hotel for them. So a lot of times in these sort of lodging facilities or like hotel-like kind of condo facilities, they'll give you the ownership structure so that you could obviously rent these out in the hotel, like, very short-term rental.
Yep.
But a lot of times they put a separate hotel operator there that has really high fees. So our developer, also has his own in-house hotel management team that does it pretty much pro bono because they make money in the sellout. They're happy with those type of returns. And so they bear the risk of actually managing the hotel operation. So it gives people just a little bit more peace of mind that they're paying, I guess, the least amount for the highest level of operation still with the hotel, sort of investment. And then, we look at, again, being very, very competitive with rates. I think right now, how people are looking at short-term rentals is they want some real thorough use. I mean, hotels are great, but if you're a family, good luck, right? Like,
Yeah.
barely a fridge, barely a fridge I remember when I was a father, I barely had a fridge to sometimes even cool milk or heat up milk or whatever it was just for the babies, right? Like,
Yeah.
space where the babies could run around, right? Like, if you're in the room, if you're in a standard room or even a basic suite, and you have 2, 3 little ones, it can be a big issue,
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like Airbnb has given people a more functional lifestyle in these short-term rental capacities. And it's really cool because, we've seen a lot of homeowners take their home and monetize it in this platform with, very little skills and breaking into it and seeing some amazing returns in that sense. And again, those 3, 4 bedrooms are going to get you the highest rents.
Yeah.
So like, we look at that as still a gap in the market and saying, okay, how do we as a legal hotel now take what best attributes that an Airbnb has to offer, which is, say, properties with some architectural significance, again, functional 3 bedroom spaces, high-speed Wi-Fi, bigger living room spaces, maybe a full kitchen or outdoor space, private pool. These are things that we look at. Obviously, in a hotel, condo capacity a little bit different, but now we actually have like functional kitchens, Like we furnish all of our units with restoration hardware, and we have 4 to 6 person tables inside of our units so that people have a real lifestyle experience as much as an enjoyable stay.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge. Their recent ads have been knocking it out of the park. I don't know if you see their ads that are coming out, but it's like when
Oh,
you stay in a hotel, your bedroom is your living room, and if the kids go to
right.
bed, then you're in bed. It's like, yeah, 100%. That's what sucks about it.
Good luck for the honeymoon.
That's right. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's so I saw some of their ads come out, and there's two or three that I've seen that are in that same vein, and they're all like on point. Well, that's awesome. So you guys are it'll be a licensed hotel, and you can do the short-term rental and list them there. I've seen a lot of that recently when I go to book on like Amex Travel or something. There some of the hotels that come up are Airbnbs as well, or Airbnbs for hotels,
Yeah.
that are popping up. So that's an
Yeah.
interesting model, and I think it's definitely needed in the market. But I guess the price points for a night stay there, are they comparable to like a 3 bed, 2 bath that you're going to
Not
get?
better. If
Yeah,
not better.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
that's awesome.
right now I'm also working with the Smart Brickle down in Miami, under $100 a night. You're
Yeah,
getting a big 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom suite for $100. It's
yeah,
like no, and I'm talking about pool, fitness center, spa in the building, rooftop with views, brand new building, fully staffed, brand new, full kitchen, great furniture, like, floor to ceiling windows. You need to have balconies. It's like a no-brainer when it comes to look at these things. So we're just building and creating things with a lot more utility at mind. And I think that is a huge pain point and solves a big problem in the market.
for sure. Yeah, I agree. So, and it's also you have the you're cashing out the development with the sales of the units, and then they're managing those units like a Vacasa type thing. That's basically what's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Well, congrats on those. Those
Oh, yeah.
really interesting. Are you still raising for those? Or are they fully subscribed, or what's going on?
We're still looking for investors. We have enough. We're breaking ground. We're moving forward with all the
Mhm.
projects are in construction right now. So I mean, they are actively being sold in pre-sale. We
Yeah.
do have investors. We have an EB-5 program where now investors can get their visas, through the EB-5 investment, and then we also couple that with a unit. So you're not just putting money into the market, but you actually get an actual tangible unit. Some people just want returns and they want their visa, and then some want, a little bit of both. So, we create it so that, it's really, really attractive for investors to come, get long-term permanent status here in the United States, and then still have a solid investment in a bustling market.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
so. I was in a group of fund managers, and we were talking about the EB-5 program and how this was maybe 22, maybe 21.
Yeah.
But one of the big guys that was doing this in bringing hundreds of millions of dollars over, he was like, they're changing the status of this program, and he was concerned. And so, like, a lot of money was coming in at that time, but I thought it changed. So, what was the process getting that approved? And do you know if it's changed, or is it
And just like each presidency, it changes just a little bit, like 800 to like 1 million. So not much.
okay? So,
Yeah.
so the minimum investment to get the status is $1 million investment, and it can be in real estate or
Roughly $1 million.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see, depending on, who's next in the next administration, but it hovers around, they'll change like the EB-5 requirements,
Yeah. Okay.
which, on the low end is probably like 800K.
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember what he was
Now it's like
telling
a
me. It
million
was
dollars right now.
yeah.
Mhm.
It was a while back. We haven't done any international investing or anything, or capital raising for those things. So it's not a world that I live in or think about. Um,
Yeah.
so then, okay. So on these deals, how are you're structured? You said fund of funds. Again, we talk a lot about funds. We talk a lot about syndication. We talk a lot on the show because that's a big push. It's like, hey, go take some capital, invest in alternative assets,
Right.
and grow your commissions, turn them into cash flow. That's the whole idea of the show, right?
Right.
So if I'm a top producer and I've got capital that's sitting around, I want to put that money to work. A lot of, again, what I talk to operators about is how have you structured the deal? And again, I don't know. Is it a 506C? Is it a Reg A? What type of filing did you guys do? And can you talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, the public filings, like if it's a Reg D 506C.
Hmm.
But I mean, what I would say to people is like, if you're a starting entrepreneur, you want to definitely figure out not just making great cash plays, but how to really get that tax depreciation and any of those tax benefits, right? Because if you negotiate a good deal, work with the right broker, making sure that you make money at the closing table, and then either have an asset that is going to now appreciate, you know, at a higher pace than what's going on in the market, or again, you made money at acquisition, but then coupling that with, having a rental and really driving down like any of those major renovations. You can front load your depreciation, and then really leverage as least capital as possible. So either you can use hard money loans, or you can get these multifamilies where maybe you live in a unit, you can get 3.5% down on some of those like first time investor programs, so that you're on a $2 million property. I mean, you could be putting down say $70,000. You wait 10 years, law of averages are you're probably going to double your money. So, $70,000 to wait 10 years and then have an extra 2 million bucks in the bank. That's a really strong investment here, right? Like,
Yep.
show where I mean, from the seven, what is that? That's over 10x, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that to me is as strong, and then as strong as a proposition as you're probably going to find. And then really making sure that you're using all the tax benefits and tax depreciation, and then you don't have to necessarily pay it back if you're doing a 1031 exchange. So, these are ways that you're going to always just look on trading up, making some smart trades, having it at least break even with any mortgage or monthlies that you're looking to back into on a debt basis, and then just really making some smart plays in your town, right? Working with brokers, finding those hot properties that you can either add value to, or buy and hold, and there is some like long-term benefit of doing that. I look for things that may have architectural significance, that may be strategically located by waterfronts, or certain pockets that really give you that extra bang for your buck, right? But like, these are things that you want to look at. And then if you make those plays over the next few years, and I tell young entrepreneurs, if you're not a millionaire, like, you just need to be buying some property and just kind of, buying, renovating, rehabbing it, refinancing it, repeating that whole thing. They
Yep.
actually call it burr, right?
Yeah.
What I heard. But like, that's literally the play, but like, what I would say is like, if you're getting into like a fund structure, a lot of those, you're not able to get those tax benefits unless there's a dividend structure that you're able to, get those. So I would just say be very careful with some of those, because, as a LP of a fund, or if you're doing say class B shares of a corporate, like, you're not going to get any real tax benefits unless they figure out some vehicle to pass it through like a dividend. But
Yeah.
otherwise, you want to just be kind of conscious of that, and talk to your accountant or your CPA or whatever,
Yeah.
right, to give you a sense of like where that is. But what I tell people is that's the moves you should be making. It's not in crypto, it's not even in stocks, because of really leverage, right? Like, I can put down, use even money, right? Like, I know people, I know a Pace Morby, I know guys that are walking in and getting, properties without any down payments, or leveraging down payments from hard money lenders, refining it once they have a client or tenant that's paying. Then they can go back to the bank, show that they have income. The bank's happy. You're able to now, pull out some of that equity too, potentially. And it becomes a really, really, hot deal for people, because, you're able to see the positive effects on all different angles, whether it's appreciation, depreciation tax, cash flow, right? Building into equity in certain areas, and making some smart choices about how renovations can add value, so that what your exit strategy is. And then just really making the most of like, how do you maximize, your rents, and, and just building out your portfolio. So that's, I think, the moves that every young entrepreneur should make. And in no time, you'll make you'll have $1 million net worth.
Yeah.
If you're smart about those things, and then obviously making sure that, you roll into another property as soon as you sell that property, right? So like the things that everybody can look at.
Keep the money working.
Triple check those, those tax benefits for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Read the PPM, like understand it. First day stuff. Jordan, look, okay. So we're talking about all these things that are happening. You are now multiple stream income, Jordan, right? You've got show happening. I'm assuming you get paid for. You got your real estate stuff. You got some development, and So I kind of want to talk about that just a little bit. Like how has that changed your mindset? Have you always had multiple things going? Were you like, did you have the lemonade stand and you were selling something else back then,
Always.
Okay. So
hustler. Yeah. Explain. Sorry.
No. I just want to talk about multiple streams of income and how you manage that. And, it's always one of those things where it's not always, but I think of it in this way. Like you could easily get the shiny object syndrome where you go start chasing something else before you have something like teed up, ready to go, the team in place, it's managing and it's running itself. So how do you manage that, the brokerage side of the business, the development side of the business, capital raising, and just being a TV personality? Like how do you handle all of that?
Yeah. And I mean, I have other ventures too. Like, I've launched a private yacht club, right?
Nice. All right.
Where we're also buying, yachts and waterfront properties and then monetizing those.
Yeah.
Have other ventures in technology that I'll be launching. So I think it's a couple things, because people go, well, did that make you a jack of all trades? Maybe, but what I would say is like you can only serve, let's say, from the rule of thumb, you can only serve one master, but then your goal is to find a master in those other industries. So I don't necessarily take the highest position, or I will not necessarily be in the weeds with all the deep operations. So I think it's very, very important to get yourself a very modern modern organizational sort of staff chart, right? Because you want to get a sense of like who's handling the day-to-day, who's handling compliance, who's making the moves on, what the lease should be paid for, or, what type of moves on acquisitions should we be making. Right. Who's your expert investor that you're working with? And then I double down on like just really making sure I have hard ass deadlines. That's the way that you do it. Like I back into deadlines. And if I am late, I can always make a new goal. Just like if I said, hey, I'll be there at 5:00 and it's running on 5:10, but I know that I'm still close to my deadline. And so that typically works. So I like to start with hard deadlines when I'm creating any goals. So it's not just wishful thinking. And then I find the absolute best in class people to work with so that I delegate effectively, and then they're, now managing the operation. So I'm very high level. As I said, I bring money in. I still help with marketing, positioning, and a lot of other things. But I think it's very important to make sure that you just have the right team so that while you're a master of one trade, you also have masters of all the others around you.
Yeah.
And so that's how I like to work on, and I don't care about giving up a little bit of equity if it allows me to now scale my business.
For sure.
And so people are just so much, they're on like, I need to keep all the equity in 5%. For me, it's like, if this isn't off the ground, it's worth zero.
Yep.
So I can look at this and really, leverage that into helping me, or, you just count all your dollars, but then, 100 times zero is still going to be zero.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how I like to back into things for sure.
No, that's solid advice, and the way to look at how you're growing. The other side, that just from the outside looking in, it seems anything you bolt on is going to be accretive to the real estate side of the business, right? So if you have a yacht club, now you're hanging out with a bunch of guys with yachts and or people who are, it's like, okay, you need real estate too. I'm your guy. I got a whole team, So it builds on each other. I don't know if that was intentional or if you just, like, I like cool things and I like yachts. Let's go, So
absolutely.
Yeah. But hey, look, we're getting to the top of the hour, man. I want to thank you for jumping on. You're obviously a wealth of knowledge. You got a ton of stuff going on. And just sharing, what you've shared with us today is fantastic. there's a ton of other content that you've shared that I've gone through myself on some other interviews that you've given about, specific technology that you're doing, things that you're working on. So I'm not going to go over those things now because people can find those things, but I will ask, you said you have a technology thing that you are launching. Is it real estate related?
Real estate related.
Okay. Can you talk about it?
So it's a mix of, think Property Shark meets AI. So imagine now not just being able to find and source information. What we do is we aggregate information from a multitude of data points and public, systems to then create a profile of exactly the homeowner, information around the home, anything pertaining to any specific property that you would find. It's all going to be one place. But now we couple that with an AI bot that will actually allow you to create emails that will pull from certain data points and create, a very informative or intimate, personalized email to help you do whatever you want with it, right? Like whether you're reaching out to prospect or whether you want to create, a lead. So it is now done for you, and you just pick up the phone when the client's ready to go. So we're going to be managing and automating everyone's outbound processing and also finding contacts at large with more data points than our competitors.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is it something you're doing in-house, or you're selling that, packaging and selling so the public can use? So I buy real estate. Like, I would love to have that for a marketing campaign direct to owners of apartment buildings in my area. So is it
going to be B2C?
Okay.
We're making the announcement over the next couple of weeks. You guys are actually getting a lot here for the first time. The name is going to be Property Pulse, and it is going to definitely take, the market by waves. We're going to do some really cool incentives just to get people in and try and get out. We believe in what we, stand on, and, hopefully people can scale with the insights that they have and the ability to now create really personalized messages that will be, getting relevant for the audience they're looking to attract.
That's awesome, man. I mean, it is fantastic. I was talking to Bob as well about, AI and what he's using it for and how he's structuring some of the deals that he's going after.
Yeah.
Man, it's just like super cool what some people are working on. So I want to ask you, are you going to Blueprint? Are you guys launching this thing? Do you know Blueprint? Do you know what it is?
No, what's that?
It's a conference in Vegas next, I don't know. I'm going to it. I think it's September, but it's all about real estate technology, prop tech,
right,
and fintech and all of that. So I didn't know if you were like, oh, we're waiting to launch it at this thing, but
no, we're very. I mean, I will be definitely like hitting, boots to the ground, hitting the pavement, like going to pretty much everything imaginable.
Yeah.
Right now, we actually just got renewed for season 2.
Congrats. Awesome.
Netflix. So we're probably going to start recording in the next couple of weeks, among launching the new developments, along everything else. So we'll have partners, definitely boots to the ground. Keep me abreast of any other functions that are going on, though, for sure. Would love to attend.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, again, Jordan, good catching up with you, man. A lot of stuff going on. Congrats on season 2. Looking forward to watching it. If anyone wants to reach out to you, we can put your contact info in the show notes. They can just reach out direct to you. You got a couple deals that you're going, that you're working on. So if anyone's looking to invest and you're taking on capital, please reach out direct as well and take a look at some of those deals because, you got a good thing going on. So again, Jordan, appreciate it. Wealth of knowledge. Have an awesome day. Good catching up.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right. Did you know that 80% of the agents we speak with got into real estate in order to gain passive income so they could obtain financial freedom and become work optional? If you want to stay up to date, the best way is to make sure you're subscribed. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and do it now. We'll catch you on the next episode.